beauty of not working for someone is also a curse because you don't have somebody that you have to be accountable to. You have to be accountable to yourself. And maybe you have a partner and you guys have a great setup, but you got to wake up motivated every day. You got to sit down and, figure out to make those calls to make those sales happen. It's very easy to fall into the trap of I'm working from home or I have my own business. I'm going to go to lunch with my friends or I'm going to go do this and all this. But real soon you find out the money's not coming in and those resources dry up and you have to figure out how to keep going. So there's a lot of self-motivation that you have to have in place. But with starting with that, your passion and having that there, you know what you're going towards.
Kym Insana, welcome to the Star Coach Show.
Thank you, Meg. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. We're going to be talking about something that so many of our listeners are either currently dealing with, thinking about dealing with, or have in their rearview mirror, which is that concept of leaving the security of corporate America or corporate wherever you are in the world, hanging a shingle, becoming an entrepreneur, the pros and cons of that. But really, what we're going to get into is sort of the process of that. And what do you need to be thinking about? Because Kym has done this at a multi-million-dollar level to be successful, but she didn't bypass the imposter syndrome and all the other things that kind of go with that. So we're going to lean into that. And I'm going to tell you more about Kym in just a second. As we settle into this week's show, I want to thank all of you for joining us. Every week, the Star Coach Show, that STAR stands for Strategies, Tools, and Resources, bring you those very things to think about so that whether you're navigating a transition from employee to being an entrepreneur, whether you are trying to scale your business, whatever it is that you're doing, this is the place to come every week because I've got incredible guests like Kym, where we talk about these absolute foundational, I can't even speak to this morning, foundational things, as well as some other, like we expand in lots of different directions to give you what you need to do that. So we know that every single day, my box gets filled with people who want to be on the show. And I'm super appreciative of that and not able to take everybody who wants to be on the show. But then when I see somebody like Kym who wants to be on the show, I'm like, oh, yeah, she brings not only the history of success. Kym started in the digital space before really the digital space was the cool place to be. Huh, Kym? I mean, like, being a multi-million-dollar business owner and a digital marketing expert, she founded Always On Digital, which is a woman-owned agency that helps brands, get this, like the U.S. Air Force, Enfamil, which, by the way, I probably helped support Enfamil for a long portion of my life or my children's lives, and Johnston and Murphy scale through really impactful campaigns. And so that's something that I might touch on with you a little bit, Kym, today is just that concept of getting our message out there. And I think that's part of maybe breaking through imposter syndrome or getting clarity about how we're speaking about what we do. So Kym's bringing her 20 plus years experience to all of us today to really help us understand what is it that we want to think about when making that big leap, that big gulp of like, maybe I'm leaving my solid paycheck, my team, my organization, and considering, do I want to be a business owner? And what do I need to think about if I am? So I'm super excited to bring Kym here to all of you. She's a sought after speaker, and we get the privilege of hearing what she has to say. So Kym, once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And thank you for that intro. I really appreciate it. I'm going to take you everywhere with me.
Oh, good, good, good. We're going to start a new fun road trip, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to talk about this employee to entrepreneur. So we'll call it E to E today. And
Mhm.
in this E to E transition, let's start with kind of what was it that motivated you to leave a very successful career and say, you know what, I'm going to go alone. I'm going to start my own agency. That was a big gulp moment for you, I'm sure.
It was, and it really was because of my kids and watching not only becoming deeper into parenthood, but watching those around me, women around me who were growing in their career, but maybe at a different level than I was, because they were newer and more junior at the time, but starting to have kids and then not be able to be there for their families. And anybody who has children understands sick days. I have one home today for a sick day. I had two home last week. Just it happens, and having to take off from work or ask for it. I mean, this was all pre-COVID. So working from home was really challenging for working moms. And I just found that I had babysitters and before care and after care, and I have such a limited time with my kids at night, and I was questioning, why was I doing this all? And it's nice to
Mm.
have a job where you can buy a nice bag or have a nice car or go on nice vacations. And that's wonderful. And I'm not saying you can't have that with your own business, but I realized that what was more important to me was being around my kids and my family. And so this, big aha for me was one day where I said, there's people leaving. There's women leaving the workforce to be stay-at-home moms that wasn't really what they wanted to do. Not that they not necessarily speaking for someone else, but they wanted to work and they wanted to be with their kids, but they didn't want to do a full-time one or the other. They wanted a
Right.
balance. And that didn't exist. And I did see glimpse of it early on in my career, if you call it after school job in high school, where I worked in radio and there were women with job shares. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. These women get to be here 30 days a week. They're killing it from a sales perspective. They work together as a team and they get to spend just as much time at home with their kids. Like, that's the perfect scenario. Why can't we recreate this? And this was so many years ago, before laptops, before cell phones. I mean, they existed, but didn't exist in the workplace the way they do.
Right.
Why can't we do it when we have all these tools? And when you're in a world where people are not accustomed to those scenarios, there's not enough women fighting for it, you have to either do it yourself or accept what everything else is. And at that time, I decided at one point, I'm not doing this anymore. Look, my commute's 2 hours each way. I see too many great people leaving. I'm going to do it on my own. And I think I became almost like a product first versus me thinking my dream is to become an entrepreneur and have my own business.
Ah.
And that was the need, really. It was more needs driven.
Want everybody to hear that the choices where I either spend time with my kids or I'm can knock it out of the park professionally. And Kim's choice was, I believe I can knock it out of the park professionally and have time with my family. I'm just going to create that myself. And when I say just, that's not just, that's a big lift. So, what do you want people to think about as they're listening? And maybe they're in that place of like, oh, you're speaking directly to me. I'm in that place right now. I don't know how to even begin. What would be my first step? Let's meet them in that mindset right now and give some strategies to at least think about. I get everybody's different, but
Yeah.
what are some things that we might think about if we're in that place of dreaming?
So I would start with, what do you want it to look like? And it doesn't have to be perfectly what you want it to look like. And maybe this is a product and it's not an environment, whatever that idea or thing or passion you have is, what does it kind of look like? What does it feel like? Whether you're building something physical or an ideal, the ideal scenario would be something along these lines. Start there and then sort of work backwards, because it's very overwhelming to look at the process of building a business and what you need to do and what the finances are and what the logistics are. I think that can turn some people away. And it probably would have turned me away, honestly, because I went in this, it's like ignorance is bliss. I didn't go to business school. I didn't really know the logistics of a lot of it. So I just thought, oh, I have this idea and I want to make the idea happen, and kind of went that way first. And I would say that probably made my path easier because I didn't get caught up in thinking about the failures as much. I'm not saying I didn't have imposter syndrome. I absolutely did. but I didn't focus on the failures as much because I had the confidence of thinking, this is what I want and this is what I want it to look like. Obviously, it helps if you have a skill set already for the thing that you want to do. So I had been selling digital media for a long time and felt like I've always hit my goals. I've always done well. I've built great relationships. I can do this. So that part was there. And I think obviously that's an important factor. You have to have some confidence in yourself and what you want to do. But I would work backwards from that idea first and then go and work on the logistics because those things may not be innate to you and be what you can get caught up in and struggle with that may discourage you in a way that you don't need to. You don't want to lose your passion over some of the details sometimes.
Well, and I love what you said is that you started with clarity. You built the vision. And I think often as coaches, we help our clients determine what's that vision that we're working towards? What is that thing? And the clearer we are about what that vision is, the easier we can reverse engineer. Not that it's like just going to be just easy peasy from that point, but if we don't have a vision, then we're scattered and I think we're more likely to go down different bunny trails and be completely all over the place and feel failure more than if I mean, all those things are things we have to face as entrepreneurs anyway. But if you don't have a vision of what it is that you're building, I think there's a whole lot of scatter.
Especially when there's going to be days where you're like, what am I doing? I'm going to quit this. I'm going to get a regular job. Why am I doing this? There are going to be days like that because there's going to be hard days. If you're doing something on your own and building something on your own, you don't always have a person to. The beauty of not working for someone is also a curse because you don't have somebody that you have to be accountable to. You have to be accountable to yourself. And maybe you have a partner and you guys have a great setup, but you got to wake up motivated every day. You got to sit down and, figure out to make those calls to make those sales happen. It's very easy to fall into the trap of I'm working from home or I have my own business. I'm going to go lunch with my friends or I'm going to go do this and all this. But real soon you find out the money's not coming in and those resources dry up and you have to figure out how to keep
Right.
going. So there's a lot of self motivation that you have to have in place. But with starting with that, your passion and having that there, what you're going towards. And so when you have those hard days or days that you feel a little lazy, you know what that path is that you kind of are striving for. And I'm not saying we don't all have days where we feel like that and take time for
Right.
ourselves and have mental days because you do need those, but you got to just make sure that you have accountability to somebody, basically.
Right. The pattern that's being established is one that is going to help you reach that vision and not one that's pulling against that
Right.
vision. So, one of the other things that we talked about that can sometimes rear its head and get in the way is the stories we begin to tell ourselves or the imposter feelings like, who am I to do this? And those can also demotivate and kind of suck the air out of our balloon. So, what were some of the struggles that you had when it comes to questioning your ability to build something on your own?
So early on, I went to my existing clients that I had worked with, and definitely you get some meetings from people that you've always worked with, and they're happy to take your call. And then you get the ones that are happy to take your call or accept your email or reply back, and then they poke holes in your business in certain ways. Now, for us, and then maybe it's not an intentional way, or it's them asking honest questions or giving you honest feedback that make you kind of wonder, and then that's where the struggles come through, and then you start to think, hey, should I even be doing this? Am I even qualified to do this? So for example, our company is called Always on Digital, and we were trying to position the fact that, we're always available nights and weekends, like when other people are working, moms are always working, and making sure that nothing falls through the cracks. And so when we approached one of the agencies that we wanted to partner with, they said, well, we don't need help nights and weekends. So that was their response because that's what they took from our message, like, oh, Always on Digital, that we don't have a need for that. We're getting exactly what we need
So,
from
what you specialize in, we don't need.
we
And
don't need.
rather
And there
than it
isn't a
just
need
being
in
an
the market for
extra.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just not a need in the market for it because things are getting done during the day. We don't need that. And so you start to spiral sometimes and think, man, am I off base here with what I'm trying to sell? In reality is that wasn't the right person to go to. Even though it had been an existing customer, they just didn't need what we were offering. And making sure you try many different avenues and just don't go down one, obviously, because eventually you will find the person that says, oh yes, we do need that, but it's not going to be everyone. And when you're competing as a small business against these major corporations, you may feel like they are for everyone because they're so big, and but it's really just, they may just have more or offer it differently, and it may seem on the outside, yes, they're for everyone and we're not. And that's where you start to, I think, spiral sometimes. And well, who does,
Mhm.
how can I say I'm an expert in something which I really struggle with? I mean, it's on my business card, and someone made me put it on my business card and I fought them on it. I said, I'm not doing that. And they said, you've been doing this for 25 years. That makes you an expert in something. And if anyone else said, I've been doing this long, I'm an expert, you wouldn't think twice, but you won't do it for
Mhm.
yourself. And not to
So
judge.
actually the word expert you didn't want to put on your
Oh, I
business
didn't want
card?
it on my card. I
Okay.
didn't.
Okay.
And it was a woman-owned business that said it to me, and she said, "We said this to a man, told him to put it on his card. He put it on his card. He wouldn't even come back at us the way you're coming back at us. You're literally fighting this." And I said, "But I'm embarrassed when someone takes my card and looks at it and kind of, who's to say you're an expert?" And they said, "No, you have to have that confidence. If you've done it for a certain amount of time, you
You are
obviously
an
are. You've
expert.
been doing it for so many years. That makes you an expert. You were there in the beginning. You're there through the hard times, through the good times. That's part of being an expert at something." But I still feel it on the card. I mean, I want to take it off easily. I don't want to put it on.
So as you talked about the different chatter that goes on and things that you can hear from prospects or potential customers of how their feedback can make us spin. One of the things I want to be sure that everybody hears is that you didn't take the first pushback and shut down. You didn't be like the first. It might have made you question your message and it might have made you rethink things, but it also made you think, well, who else? Who else is out there? Because I know that what we're offering really is needed, even if initially I second guessed myself. And we're going to get no's. We're going to
Mhm.
get, no, you're not the right fit. You're not, but that doesn't mean that you've explored every avenue. And I think that I just really want people who are listening to know that, yeah, you're going to get some no thank yous, but you got to keep pursuing because the yes, you've got exactly what I'm looking for is also out there. What are your thoughts about that?
Yes, exactly. And one of the best pieces of advice I got early on in sales, and I had heard this somewhere, I wish I knew who I could attribute it to, but if you offer someone a piece of gum and they say no, thank you, you're not offended. You're just like, oh, they didn't want a piece of gum, or you offered something. And you have to go into sales or selling your product or, pitching the same way. Take it as a no, thank you. They didn't want your gum. That's it. You cannot take it personally. And if you have that mindset, it does make it easier because sending an email, a cold email, and getting a rejection, we used to joke and print out in my old job, like some of these rejections we would get, like, absolutely no need for this. Like, some of these so harsh, but you got to laugh at it because you will get yeses, but the no's, you just have to, push aside and just think it's just like, offering somebody a piece of gum. No, thank you.
All right. So, on this journey of us exploring path from employee to entrepreneur, we've looked about the fact that having a really clear vision to motivate you, to help you make decisions about what you do and what you don't do, keep to be able to reverse engineer from it. A clear vision is super helpful. We've also talked about the fact that, yeah, you're going to get rejected. And that's not a personal thing. Got to thicken up our skin a little bit in that and just be aware that that's going to happen. What else do we want to think about when we're thinking about getting traction at the onset?
So I always feel you go to your allies first. So people that will help, not only, maybe they will buy from you, maybe they will help you or give you advice, but go to them first and see, maybe they can make an introduction. Maybe they know somebody who knows somebody, and use that network as well as try to find a mentor because the mentorship really helped me as well. That's where I found that when I got a mentor, they made the statement to me, "Oh, did you know that most businesses fail within the first 5 years?" And we were 4 years in when they said that. And I said, "Oh my gosh, like I didn't even know this statistic. Thank goodness I didn't know it because I probably would have started spiraling about it." But making it to that I was almost at that 5 year mark, and I had this mentor, and really like those are the things that help you early on is just talking to different people as much as you can. I always feel like you may have that friend that's like, oh, I have a guy that knows this, and I have a guy for this. I have an accountant, a lawyer. You need your network, and so
Right.
the more you can go to your allies or your friends and expand that, so that you can, and don't be afraid to talk to people about your ideas, and then maybe they say, oh, I know somebody who can help you, or that may need that or
Hmm.
want that. Those connections really not only helped me early on, but a lot of them have helped me all the way through.
Love that. The other thing that is so important to just be aware of is we need to speak our ideas out loud. To
Mhm.
Kim's point, like things sound one way in your head. And when you say them out loud, and even better, say them out loud to another human being, you begin to get additional clarity about your ideas. You can hear some things come out of your mouth and say, that sounded a whole lot better in my head. So, what do I need to do to kind of tweak it or move it? And then having a mentor or somebody to bounce those ideas off of, so important, because moving through things in total isolation, that's just a spirit killer, if you ask me.
Absolutely, and it could be very lonely. It's so
Yeah.
lonely, and it's hard to stay motivated when you're lonely sometimes. And even if you maybe you don't have those network or those connections, there's so many groups that you can get those connections through, like a chamber of commerce, or there's small business associations, usually in any state or city that you can join
Right.
and try to meet new people because that really can help you when it does feel lonely.
Exactly. And in the coaching community, there's the
Yes,
International
absolutely.
Coaching Federation and there's the Star Coach community. I mean, there are different things that you can, because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, working in total isolation, well, you might be able to get it done, but I think it'll take you longer with less clarity than if you have some other people to bounce ideas off of and to support you along the way. And take Kim's word for it. She's been there. She knows. She's done it.
And you
So,
don't see many awards that say, "Hey, you did it all by yourself," at the end
yeah.
versus doing it with somebody. Like, there's not really a trophy at the end for it. So,
Yeah, it's like, okay, because you completely did it on your own. It might have taken you 25 years, but you
yeah.
completely did it on your own. You get the extra bonus. No,
Yes.
you really
No.
don't. So we've got some now. Before we begin to look at getting traction and beginning to scale up, anything else that you wanted to point out in that initial phase before we move on?
So, in the initial phase, I will say we did hire a lot of people part-time.
Mm.
So this way we could get a vaster network of experience. So instead of hiring for one role full time, maybe taking contractors or part time work for multiple roles. So this way, we didn't take investment and we didn't hire fast, but we did it in that way, allowing us to have a bookkeeper, have lawyer part time, have people that did different functions of the company, but on a fractional basis.
Love that advice. And there are many people these days who are actually looking for fractional
Yes,
jobs.
there's
So
tons.
that can be a great win win and allow you to bring in the talent you need in a particular way in a particular place. Love that. So now let's say we're rocking and rolling. We've started to get a little bit of traction. Maybe we're breathing a little bit easier after letting go of. I say that when I left my therapy practice after 20 years, I got to the place where I needed to make a decision. Am I going to be a therapist or I'm going to be a coach? And in order to, what I was doing was taking no more therapy clients and only taking coaching clients. But it was the early 2000s and everything was managed care. So the managed care companies, the insurance companies said to me, Meg, if you're not going to take our referrals, like they allowed me to take like a 3 to 6 month break. But if you're not going to take them, you can't be on our network.
Mm.
So, in my big gulp moment, after spending all that time to get on like every insurance network that I had been on for, 10 years or whatever, I had to write letters to all of them and say, take me off your network. Take me off. That was my big gulp moment. Like, I'm putting a stake in the ground. I'm going to be an executive coach. I'm letting go of my therapy, not my therapy background, but I'm letting go of my therapy practice. That was like I made the decision. So I had to jump in. And there was that period of time where it's like, am I going to get enough referrals from
Mhm.
coaching to make this happen? And luckily it did. And so now we're in history. But same thing for you. You said goodbye to your company. You started building and building. And then what did you have to do the bigger you got? There was probably some scaling things you had to think about.
There were definitely scaling things. And I think that the scaling phase and when you commit to it is almost like restarting and becoming an entrepreneur again and starting a business again. Because it's very easy to be comfortable in the growth pattern that you're in, whether it be, small increases or a small business. Oh, it's okay. We have a down year. We're not answering to anyone. Long as we have enough to kind of get by and have the team we want at the pace we want, there's no one forcing you to do that next step. So it actually becomes a very conscious decision to say, we want to grow. Now, granted, some people are growing on their own organically at a faster pace, but when you don't hire sales and commit more time to sales and all that, you're not going to grow faster than you grow. You'll have client retention, maybe pick up a couple clients a year. For us, we made the decision, okay, we've been doing this. My youngest and part of my whole entrepreneur journey is I started a business and then got pregnant immediately after within a couple of months. So I had a newborn my first year of doing this.
Wow.
It's not one of those things where I say I recommend doing it that way because it was hard. It was way hard. Also, the first person I hired got pregnant around the same time as I did, and we both had newborns during the first year. And she was my right hand and still is my right hand. So don't tell my husband that because we brought him on later, and he is also my right. And we have lots of
Yeah,
hands there.
we have lots of right hands. We have lots of hands in this
Lots of
business.
hands.
Just out of
We're
curiosity, because I
crazy.
think now that wasn't your first baby, was it that you
That
had?
was
Because
my fourth.
so you had little kids and a newborn. That's what I want. I mean, like, yes, you had a newborn, and there's like things to be said about a newborn, but you were also juggling three other children's activities. So you had a lot going on at home.
I had a lot going on, and we have some wide ranges in ages. So right now my kids are 19, 13, 12, and 8. So at the time with a newborn, I had kids that were early elementary and, daycare age, like all in
Yeah.
that mix. So that was a lot and it was very challenging. But part of the reason why you grow at a certain percentage because what you put in is what you get out. And we weren't able to commit to real full time to make this grow. But at the same time, I didn't want it to be a little side project either. I needed this to be the thing that was there for our family because I did not want to go back to corporate world and with all the travel and everything else that came with it. So at one point when my youngest started to get to the age where one they understood what a conference call is and if I need to do it in the car or I need to have my door locked when you're home after school like that comes as part of it. Those are like the ugly little details that not everybody talks about, the real life stuff. But once I felt like we were in a good place, I committed and said, we are going to scale now. Now we are ready. We are all ready as a collective team, and we're going to do this. And we committed to hiring full time salespeople. And that was our stake in the ground, where this is how you know you're doing it because now we're paying full time salaries. This is not where you're dipping your toe in the water and seeing how it goes. Like we are full committed to this. And when you fully commit to something like full time salaries, full time benefits, there's lots of other costs that start to come into play. So now it's serious business. It's serious cost for insurance. It's serious cost for a lot of factors that we really need these sales to happen. So 2 years ago, I guess it's going to be 3 years now, we committed and said, we're doing this big. And we slowly started to hire. We hired two salespeople. We hired another one in May. We just hired another one. We're going to hire another one before Q4. And the way we're scaling is maybe a little different because again, we didn't take an investment as the kind of row your boat. Like the first person start to hit their goals and make it, now we know, okay, let's hire somebody else. And as they start to
Okay.
bring in sales and hit their goals, okay, now we can hire somebody else and just keep going. That's what's worked for us. That may not work for everyone. That has been our, it's kind of still baby steps growing without going too hard too fast. But there's other costs that come with all of that. And that becomes account managers, more trader, more people to do the work on the back end, like customer service. So that all has to kind of go with it. You can't just hire sales like crazy and
Right.
then not
And then
expect,
not take care of your customers.
and
I
then
guess.
more need for
Yeah.
marketing and more need. So those costs come with other costs. And that is a big commitment for scaling. And so that's what we did a couple of years ago. We also got an office space. So for the people that are more local, we all get together because now going back to all those kids are in school that we had years ago. Now we're like, we want to go back to an office, but let's just make one convenient for us. So it's like 15 minutes in the middle of most of us, and then just, or a few of us, and we can get together in the office. We have a bigger space for that hybrid kind of setup, which works really well for us.
So good. So whether you're listening and you're like, well, I don't see myself originally hiring salespeople, but I would want to be able to afford a right hand person, or I want to be able to afford somebody to help me do my marketing or whatever that is. Marketing is sort of a
Yeah.
salesperson. So within that, I just want you to be thinking about, first of all, that Kim said she didn't hire full-time people at first. She hired, like I hire, my bookkeeper does bookkeeping on a very part-time basis for me. I send her my stuff, she gets it done, she says it, it's, but that's her genius work. It's not my genius work, and I'm delighted to have her do her genius work. Same kind of thing with my YouTube channel expert or whatever. I mean, whatever it is, that I might not have any full-time people on with me at this exact moment, but I have a lot of people doing their genius work in my business. And that might be the first thing you think about. And when you are building a team, Kim, what are some of the things that you knew to be true about your business or about the situation? Because hiring the right people is a difficult thing. So now you're building this team for this huge company you've got. How do you pick the right people?
So I stalk them on Facebook and see when they have their kids. And I'm not kidding about some of that. So a lot of them are people we've worked with in the past or we have relationships with that I can trust, but more so people that I want to help. So some of our account managers we've worked with for years and they stopped working, they had their kids. And just recently, like 2 years ago, I saw one that I had stayed in contact with, and she was at a bigger job and had her second daughter. And then I see she's not working anymore, and I waited a little bit. I wanna wait till, like,
I gave her a chance to,
yeah,
get the
like, be
baby.
home with the
Yeah.
baby, but I know you don't wanna really get back into full-time work, and so I would text her once in a while, like, "Oh, see the baby girls are getting bigger, and how are things going? What about you, any thoughts to, like, maybe 5 hours a week, maybe 10 hours a week? You wanna get back into it a little bit? We have some flexible opportunities." And sometimes you get a no at first, but then she came back. I kept asking gently, of course, not looking to ruin my relationships. And she came on this one, a couple came on board, but this woman, Megan, came on board a couple of years ago. And she said to me recently, "This is the best job I've ever had because she gets to be with the girls. She has a hybrid. We have some boundaries with hours. We're always telling her we can't wait till she's ready to be full time, though, because she's amazing at what she does. But that's the stuff we think about. Really the person, any kind of connection or recommendation. It's hard when you're on with your own business. You really do want to get a referral of some sort. We've been fortunate enough to hire a bunch of people that we've known and have connections to, but we also have to hire net new people we know nothing about. And those are risks and it's hard. So you try to start with your values first, because if they don't buy into the values that the company is driven by, it's hard to have them represent you. And for us in particular, because we're a woman owned business and we do push that our values and what we're trying to do and help working mothers and things like that, that's a critical thing for them to buy into and believe in. And I would say the same for whatever the business is that you have and whatever you need them to buy in. No one's going to ever have the passion you have for your business. But if you can get them to believe what you're trying to do and be part of it and be excited to be part of it, then there's no stopping.
Love that. All right. We are actually beginning to run out of time, unfortunately. So, with that, if people are walking away just thinking about one thing, I mean, we gave you lots of things to think about, and I hope you take it all away. But, Kim, if you had to kind of put a stake in the ground for one thing for everybody to think about as they potentially consider whether moving from employee to entrepreneur is a good match for them, what would be your word of wisdom?
I would say, why not me? Because, sometimes we think, oh, well, I don't really love the 30 under 30 list or 40, because I think it gets in our head sometimes where we look at others and, well, they're better than me, and, or they've had this, or they're this golfer that's skilled or whatever. They grew up with money. Like, it's very easy to think of why somebody else, but
Mhm.
instead of thinking, why not me? Yes, I can do this too. I'm just as capable. And maybe, no, I can't be an Olympian. I don't know. Like, but have I even tried? We don't know. Like, so if you haven't tried it, I don't think you should shut yourself down on it yet. So instead of looking at somebody else, maybe, why not me? Why couldn't, I can do it.
Love that. Love that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've given you some food for thought about if you want to make that transition from employee to entrepreneur. And also, if you're already in that place, I bet Kim shared some things with you that you hadn't thought about yet, or that you want to noodle around a little bit more, because we do encourage you and challenge you to stretch and to grow and to think about what's maybe the next thing that I could do to reach more people, to bring my expertise into the world and own being an expert. Like, proudly put that on your business card. So, that is just so key. And Kim, I'm so grateful that you brought your personal journey forward and really painted a beautiful picture of being a mom who believes, because what I felt as you talked was the love for your family and the love for the family you've created through your business. Like,
Mm.
I just felt your love for offering that opportunity and then obviously bringing great work to your customers. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So until next week, this is Meg Rentschler wishing you the very best for your success. If you enjoy what we do here on the show, take a second and subscribe, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us wherever you do so. Be sure to subscribe so that you never miss a minute of amazing guests like Kim, my solo episodes that go live once a month. All of everything we bring is to help you explore strategies, tools, and resources for your success. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We're all here on this earth together for a reason. So let's do the heavy lifting together, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again, Kim.
Thank you.